All right, now back to work, back to work. Tuesday's over. Another great day comes to an end. Hope you guys had a great day out there. It's Tuesday evening, though. Time to get ready for Wednesday's trading session. I got a bunch of great trades on my radar for tomorrow. I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in tonight's video. That way you have a game plan to make some money on Wednesday. As always, got a lot we're going to cover here tonight. Got a lot we're going to cover. Before we jump in and get this party going here tonight, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow night's video. And if you guys enjoy the video, hit that like button for me. I appreciate you guys supporting this YouTube channel. But enough of the intro, eh? Let's get into Wednesday. Wednesday is right around the corner. We're cruising our way through the second week of the month of June. What's going on right now? Boy, I'll tell you, everything is bullish out there, as you can see. Nice big bull run on the Nasdaq. Nice big bull run on the Emini. Nice big bull run on the oil. Boy, what a difference a day makes. Who could have ever seen these reversals coming? All kidding aside, though, there's some traps out here, right? There are some traps out here right now, right? We're bullish. You can definitely see we're bullish right now, but we're sitting at lots of major areas of resistance. And don't get me wrong, don't get me wrong here. The buyers have full control over this. So there will be potential for breakout patterns as we go higher. A couple of these markets, two of them are really ripe for a breakout. So we'll definitely talk about, buying pullbacks, trading breakouts tonight. But if you watched last night's video, you probably know I'm looking for some reversals. We got some ranges back below us, So I'll tell you, there is no shortage of tradable opportunities for tomorrow. And again, I'm going to make sure you know exactly where the best entries and exits are going to be, that you can make some money on hump day. Now, speaking of Wednesday, though, before we jump into these charts here tonight, there are two things you need to be aware of for tomorrow. One, of course, is the weekly oil report. That's at 10:30 Eastern time. That will be, of course, a potential market moving event tomorrow for oil traders. So keep that on your radar. I like to kind of give it like a 10-minute buffer before and after. And then also, remember, we're looking at E-mini rollover. At some point, probably not tomorrow, probably on Thursday, we're going to have rollover on the S&P, the Nasdaq, the Dow, and of course the Russell. Right now we're on the 0622. We'll be moving over to the 0922. It doesn't look like it's tomorrow. It'll probably be on Thursday, but just in case it does happen tomorrow, remember, once the volume on that September contract is higher than the volume on the June contract, we'll then make that move over to the 0922 contract. So keep those two items on your radar tomorrow. And again, as I mentioned in last night's video, we really don't have a lot of really big news until Friday's CPI report. We heard a little bit from Janet Yellen today, but this is it's the second week of the month, so there's not a lot of news. The FOMC announcement is next week, so we're in a blackout period right now for the FOMC, the Fed speakers. So no Fed speakers, not a lot of news on the schedule unless you're trading oil like we do in our trade room, so be aware of that. And again, keep your eyes on the rollover. Again, these are the 622 contracts here on the Nasdaq and the S&P. We'll be watching that volume rollover onto the September contract. And if you need any help with that, don't forget, we'll be in the trade room tomorrow morning, and of course the rest of the week here. I'll make sure you know kind of when to have the rollover and how to do it all. It's easier than you think it is. All right, we got everything ready to go here. A lot of great trades setting up for tomorrow. Now, whether you trade one of these markets or you trade all of these markets like we do every day in our trade room, I'm going to go over each one of these charts tonight, talk about my favorite trades. That way you have a roadmap for tomorrow. I'm going to cover more advanced tactics as we go deeper into this video here tonight. So I'll definitely give you reasons to stick around all the way to the end. I do try to save the best stuff all the way to the end, so don't click me off too quickly. Make sure you watch all the way through to get the most out of this video lesson. In the meantime, let's jump right in. Let's grab the Nasdaq here first. Nasdaq here, that beautiful short squeeze off of that low. What's going on right now? What do you think is the most important factors here on the Nasdaq? Well, one very important factor is we had a very strong move going higher here. Really late morning here this morning. Anytime we see a real strong move in one direction, we always expect to see a pullback and a retest of that, in this case, of that high. It was pretty easy to find a channel drawn off that high, off that low, and a lot of great buying opportunities off that, right off of that low. The point I want you to be aware of, though, is at this point now, it's pretty much mission accomplished. Buyers have control, but they now retested that high. So really at this point, it's all about where do we go from here? Do we break higher into more levels of resistance overhead? Definitely a possibility. Or do we fade off this high and potentially take out the battle zone low here, the range, and of course, maybe all the way back down to the other side of this range tomorrow? It does seem like the second option, this reversal, is more likely right now, but that can change, right? That can definitely change. So the most important thing, first of all, is a strong move that's retested. The buyers have already accomplished their mission. Now we have to wait for more information. Second thing, of course, is this range below us. Ranges act like magnets. And so the day kind of began instead of a range, we pop up. It would make all the sense in the world if they retest that high and then dump it right back down into that trading range. And then, of course, on the topic of the range, there's also, we're basically, again, if you watched last night's video, we are basically running into, we're rotating back and forth inside of one big trading range, right? If you watch last night's video, you know we're basically in one big range. That's the reason why last night I said be aware of that reversal. And one thing you can kind of see about this, if I kind of zoom in a bit closer on this, you can see, if you think about this area right here, we're not quite there yet. You know what I mean? We're not quite there yet. So, we definitely have room to go higher here. But again, right now, we definitely need to be aware of, again, mission accomplished here for the bulls. So knowing all of this, right? Knowing that we are basically inside of one big range, and we expect this market to rotate back and forth inside that big range, knowing that we've already retested that high and a range below us, how do we make our money on this tomorrow? Where are the best trades going to be here for tomorrow? Let's break this down here for the bulls and the bears. Now, we're, again, at a major area of resistance. So as the market now begins to pull back, what you really want to start thinking about now is some sort of crown reversal or a reversal going lower. So, for example, the buyers have all the control of this right now, right? This is not a bear market. So the easiest way for us to sell short on this are going to be using the two-try failure with a trap, which we call a crown reversal, which will be buyers trying once, buyers trying twice, and then grabbing a trap ultimately above that high for a short. And you're going to see a couple examples of these on the S&P and the crude oil today, but that's definitely something I love to look for to sell. And again, we're selling at resistance in a bull market, so we do want to give the buyers the benefit of the doubt. You could definitely argue there could be a channel coming over here and buyers could try to push this thing going higher. So one way for me to sell this thing short as we go lower, one try for the buyers, two try for the buyers. That trap makes for an easy entry. One of my favorite techniques is to draw a trend line off that low, bring it up around that high, and my goodness, what a fantastic short that setup is. It's basically a failure pattern with a little bit more of a twist to it. Get that trap set up overhead. I call these crown reversals in our trade room. Another reversal I would love to use is a pop and grind reversal. Basically, it pops lower and starts to grind down as we go lower. These are one of my favorites right now. They're so easy. You can simply mark a trend line off that low, bring that trend line all the way up to that high, find that channel, and then what you want to do is start looking left and thinking, okay, where can I get in above a prior swing? Now, I say above a prior swing because that's where the best entries usually come. We don't always need a trap entry above a prior swing. Traps will work. Failures will work once those buyers come in and try to buy off that moving average. Their stops are sitting right below that low. Remember, range down, magnet below us. So there's a bunch of great setups there if we can get that pop and that grind going lower. All right, that's definitely something that I like there for the short side. Trap setup, failure setup, right? Pullback setup as we go. And then one more will just be a straight 1, 2, 3 reversal. And that is we make our move lower. I'd like to go down like into one of these areas here. We pull back to the moving average, and now we just simply jump. off that moving average, right? This is a very easy one. It's not necessarily the pop and grind. It's not a crown reversal, right? It's basically just a lower low, a pullback, and a blast off that moving average. When that happens, then you want to draw the trend line off that low, off of that high. Again, look left and think about where you can find some prior swings. That's usually where the best entries are going to be. What I always tell my students to trade room is whatever you do, don't miss the first test of that channel. It could be a trap, it could be a failure, it could be a pullback combination. Now, I know most of you guys and gals who watch this video every night, you've taken the free trading course on our website. You're doing well with all the setups, the traps, the failures. I'm always amazed how many emails and comments I get every week about how you guys have just taken that course and just made it your own and run with it and getting great results. But listen, if you're here for the first time tonight, if you haven't taken the free trading class, if you haven't learned all the setups, what I'll do is I'll put a little link up here for you in the upper right-hand corner. I'll tell you right now, that roadmap will get you right on the right track. If you like me and you hate missing the best trades each day, or you're taking too many losses, maybe you're trying to transition from full-time working to full-time trading or trying to retire soon, that will give you a good roadmap to follow, get you on the right track, and start getting you into some winning trades more consistently. And then also, too, that way you'll be ready for trading with us in our trade room, because I teach the exact same strategy in that free trading course. So keep an eye out for that reversal going lower. We know where the market wants to go, back down into that trading range. Now, what if the price goes higher here, right? What if we go higher here? Or what if we pull back, we retest that high, then what do we do, right? How do we buy it, right, as it's going higher, as it pulls back? Let's talk about this, right? Let's go to the S&P next. The S&P is a little bit different than the Nasdaq here today. The S&P, of course, is still very similar in the sense that on the S&P right now, we have, well, let's actually back it up, right? There's a lot of similarities, but there's also quite a few differences here as well. For example, here, we saw that strong move higher, right? There's an example. Number one here is that strong move going higher here for the bulls. But look what happened. They pulled it back like we expect. They retested the high, and then look at the strength of that next leg. So see how that is very different than the Nasdaq, right? The Nasdaq had the same push up, had the retest, but the Nasdaq looks more likely to be rolling over here soon, unless we see a breakout. And we'll talk about some breakouts here in a moment as well. The S&P, though, very, very strong, right? That's a very strong jump going higher. And so we have to anticipate now that with that strong move going higher, this is where that pullback could come in. I'm finding that channel off that high, find that low. Remember, anytime we see a strong move in one direction here, we expect those buyers will be coming in and trying to buy that pullback. So that is a very similar but very different, right? The Nasdaq here. That's a very big part of this as far as I'm concerned. The next one here is we're sitting right at major range high. This is very similar to the Nasdaq as well. Again, if you were to kind of zoom out on this a little bit, you'll notice right away here that the S&P, we're pretty much trading right on that spot right there, right? It's basically one big trading range, right? And so we're expecting the price to want to rotate back and forth. Again, this was kind of the reason why I was so adamant last night. Don't fall for those moves lower. Look for that run going higher here. So that is a very clear similarity to the Nasdaq. One thing you can definitely tell, though, is, and you can see this is one very small but I think very significant difference, is the S&P, you'll notice, is running right into that high. Whereas if you go back to the Nasdaq here just for a second, you'll notice the Nasdaq really hasn't taken out that high yet. So don't count out the bulls in the Nasdaq yet. I'm going to talk about some breakout patterns here in a second, right? I know we covered the short side on the Nasdaq first, but I'm going to cover the long side here on the S&P 500. And again, you can see in that Nasdaq, there's still plenty of space to go there, right? They just have to kind of prove it to us right now as we go. So Nasdaq, and you can see there's some similarities and there is definitely some differences here. And then of course, just like on the Nasdaq here, the S&P also has a range below us, right? That's the third kind of piece of this puzzle. The day began with the trading range, right? We of course break out. Now again, if these buyers fail, where does the market want to go? They want to go back down into that trading range. And so that really kind of makes for, I think, a very easy game plan for short sellers. What about the buyers though right now? On the last chart on the NASDAQ, we talked about, the crown reversal, the 1-2, and the trap back down. We talked about that pop and grind going lower. That will definitely be a great, I love those. Those are one of my favorites right now, right? That's a great short, right? Going lower as well. The 1, 2, 3 reversal as we pull back and jump, find that low, find that high. Okay, so we've talked about those shorts here. How do we buy this thing right now? And again, this will also go for the NASDAQ, but you can definitely tell the S&P is a little more ripe for that pullback because of that strong move. So as we pull back, okay, I know where I want to get long. I want to buy off support. I want to draw that trend line off that high, bring it down off that low. This is the sweet spot easily, right, for the buyers. But what's my problem going to be? What do you think is my biggest concern on that pullback? Yeah, the fact that we're at the major range highs with a range down below us. So can I really confidently buy that pullback? I mean, after all, again, there's a lot of momentum, so it's a good idea to keep it in mind. But can I buy that pullback? I definitely can, but I've got to think about the sellers right now. And I get that pullback, the bears are going to come in and they're going to attack this thing. They're going to attack this thing and try to take it lower, right? I use that same strategy myself in our trade room when I have ranges below us, right? We'll wait for that pullback and we'll literally sell right into it, right, to get that rollover. So to avoid that problem, what you want that pullback. You want to let those bears kind of dig their own grave, right? You want to let them dig their own grave. Let them try once, let them try twice. We need some sort of catalyst to run this thing back to that high. And it's exactly where what I call a 2-try failure pattern will come in handy. Now, again, I would love to, if this range high, if I wasn't at that major range high right now, I wouldn't be saying this. I wouldn't be so conservative, right, with this entry on the pullback. But because we are so obviously at range highs, and I do still think the odds are pretty good they're going to retest that high, I want to make sure we give the bears the benefit of the doubt here. Let them try once, let them try twice, and then what I always tell my students is think about where their stops are. Right? Think about where their pain is. The easiest money you're ever going to make buying pullbacks is to wait to get, for example, wait to get underneath the moving average, let those bears sort of sell, and then think about right where their stops are. And that's exactly where you're trying to be a buyer. Right? So that's exactly the game plan here now, right here. Where's my objective? Yeah, the objective is right back to retest that high. Right? So we call these 2-try failures. This is, again, off the low of that channel. The objective, the target, is back up to retest the high. Now, at this point, what do you think the odds are that the buyers come in, they try to buy once, they try to buy twice, and then, oh boy, watch out. Now we have a strong move up. You see where I'm going with this? Remember, we're at major resistance right now. Once we take out that high, once we double top, right, or retest that high, now mission accomplished. Now there's no more objective for the buyers anymore. So now if those buyers starting to buy right into that high like this is exactly where, again, think about where those buyers are in trouble. And that's exactly where you want to find that short. Now, at this point, momentum is still bullish, so we have to let them try twice. I like to draw a trend line down off those highs or look for traps above that high, like the crown reversal we mentioned earlier. The most important thing, though, is don't miss that short, right? That'll be a great short, and that run going lower oftentimes gets really, really good. Now, promise me you're not going to chase that move down. I know it's very tempting because it feels like it's never going to stop. But remember, this move will oftentimes take out that low pretty quickly, and then it'll bounce with profit taking. When it bounces with profit taking, now you want to think about, okay, where is that channel? And bingo, that's the short that you want off of that channel. This could be a trap. This could be a failure. It could be a pullback pattern setup. Again, I know most of you guys and gals have taken the free course. You learned what the patterns look like. You know which ones to take. If you haven't done that yet, though, what are you waiting for? Pause the video. Grab that link I mentioned in the upper right-hand corner. You will not be disappointed by that. You'll get on the right track real quickly with that free class. So that's a great reversal. There's no reason why we can't buy the dip and then sell the bounce off of that high. Where does the market want to go at that point? Oh, hell yeah, back into that range, right? That range is definitely where the profit targets will be there for those bears here tomorrow. Now, we haven't talked about the breakout going higher. So what if they keep on going? What if this thing keeps on breaking out and keeps on running higher here? The NASDAQ could easily do that as well, right? S&P. Now, the concern on this is that we have another round of resistance up here, right? Let's not forget, this range it's everywhere. It's like a spider. It's got arms pretty much everywhere, right? So that area is resistance. It does, let's face it, it does look like this kind of area right there. It looks like that's the actual kind of range tops and range bottoms, right? But you definitely have some edges to it. You've got the edge out here. And again, don't get me wrong, this also applies all to the NASDAQ, okay, as well. So the key right now is going to be, if we want to trade a breakout going higher, we need some strength, basically. We need to get another one of these strong legs to give us a reason to buy the pullback again, right? Does that make sense? So the same thing in the NASDAQ, right? On the NASDAQ here, if I go back to the NASDAQ here real quickly, right? The NASDAQ needs a strong move too, right? The NASDAQ needs to give us that type of move that would allow us to get enough momentum to retest the high, right? Like back here, right? Strong move up, retest the high. We want to see something like that as we go higher here. So back to the S&P here right now. Couple things you want to think about on the E-mini. We may not pull back just yet. We may continue going higher. If we continue going higher now this becomes basically one big pop and grind channel, right? Remember I said earlier that kind of pop and grind down? This also goes higher too. You can also do it going higher. So it kind of pops up, right? Chops going higher. Remember, at this point now, it's still one big strong move. So if I can draw a trend off that high, bring it down to that low, bingo. That's exactly now where we go out, find our prior swings. We wait for that pullback. We look to trap in those bears below the moving average. Once those bears get short, right, we can then use their stops as rocket fuel, that failure. And then don't forget that pullback combination usually comes right afterwards. Okay, so if we do just keep on going higher right now in the S&P, okay, I'm going to extend out this channel a little bit, make it a pop and grind channel. We'll find that failure underneath, maybe a trap too, depends on how deep that pullback is. It all depends on kind of the momentum on that pullback. I'm not a big fan of trying to catch a falling knife on a trap like that. Oftentimes the channel is so wide that when it pulls back, that momentum is so strong that you have to kind of wait for those bears to try to sell into it and then use their stops, right, as fuel to go back and retest the high. And then again, do not be surprised if we go back to that high. And then just like we mentioned earlier, buyers once, buyers twice, look out below who pulled the rug out, and then that short is that failure again. And then of course, overfind that new channel. Do not miss that short off that channel. That's the short that you can't afford to miss. Okay, a lot of times what will happen is you won't get a clear signal, or maybe you're not confident enough to short that double top, two try failure. But once it rolls over, don't chase it lower. Find that first test, trap, failure pattern, right? Whichever we get tomorrow morning in the trade room. So be aware, right? Be aware of that as we go. I would also say too, if this market was to simply pull back and blast, and really just pop and really run higher, something like that. Again, also it's the NASDAQ too. Find that new channel off the high, find that low. A little bit different this time, right? Because again, this won't be one of those pop and grinds. It'll be, again, if it's very, very strong like that, there's a good chance they're going to want to come back, retest that high, and then at that point now we can get our long, right? Get our profit targets taken off that pullback, and then you got it. One try, two try, and looking for that dump right back down into that trading range as we go. So be aware of those, again, that kind of pop and grind. Be aware, especially in the NASDAQ here. On the NASDAQ here tonight, if I go back to that NQ, sorry for the back and forth here right now. But, right, if we pull back on this and blast, right, and just rip to those highs here, that's enough momentum by itself. Mark up that high, mark up that low, look for that failure or that trap. Again, back to retest the high. And then at that point, if they do keep on ripping, again, we know where the market wants to go. It wants to go to that next level, that kind of outlier, that little, spider web we talked about before on the S&P chart, right? So don't be afraid. And really, too, you could probably say, too, in the NASDAQ here, as we start to, sort of grind higher there, don't be afraid of that channel too. Again, I should mention though, this needs to be strong, right? That's the one big difference that you need to see here on this NASDAQ. The NASDAQ has already retested. So anything going higher here needs to really pop, right? It needs to really pop to give us that momentum that we need. The S&P is not like that. Okay, I want to make sure I'm very clear on that right now. The S&P has all that momentum. So if the S&P just keeps on grinding higher, it's all the same move, and we can find that channel and we can grab that pullback. All right. Hopefully that's a really good kind of contrast, and why I tell my students the most important thing for day trading is about short-term momentum. Who has control of the market we're trading? Do we have any strong moves? Where's the retest? And that'll give you a really good kind of roadmap on when to look for a pullback or when to skip the pullback. All right, let's keep going here. Wrapping things up here on the crude oil. And by the way, thank you so much for sticking around all the way to the last kind of chart here tonight. I know your time is busy. I appreciate you guys sticking around all the way to the video here tonight. I know it was late last night, so I appreciate you guys being here right now. Do me a favor, if you would, down in the comments section, if you're still watching this video right now, you are the person I do these videos for. What's the biggest obstacle for you right now? How can I talk more about that in these videos? Is it finding levels of support and resistance? Is it finding entry setups? Is it trying to interpret momentum? Is it psychology, trade management? Would you let me know in the comment section? I would love to know what the most important obstacles are for you. Is there one thing that you think is holding you back right now? I'd love to know what that is so I can try to make more videos to help you guys out on that. All right, what's the most important factor here? Oh, and by the way, while you're down there, hit that like button for me and make sure you subscribe because I got the good stuff coming here every night on this newsletter. All right, key aspects here on the oil. Remember, we do have an oil rollover, not rollover, but oil news tomorrow at 10:30. And also keep in mind, our job right now, anticipating the following day on oil, is not easy because oil is very much driven by headlines right now. So be aware, any kind of unscheduled announcements from OPEC or, recent bans on Russian oil can definitely shake this market up. So please be careful, especially in the overnight market here on oil, as we hear from markets coming out of Europe and Asia. Okay, key aspects. First of all, we are trading at range highs. Okay, we are trading at range highs. There's a range right in the middle. Okay, ranges act like magnets, right? And so what we can do is, we know the range is a magnet. We find levels of resistance above. We find levels of support below. And like I mentioned before, we pretty much want to trade rotation. Right? You want to trade the rotation back and forth. Okay? These triangles, these levels of support below the range, levels of resistance above the range, these are where you want to look for entries, right? So we're at an area where we assume that traders will be looking for shorts, right? Or again, buyers looking for breakouts here. Now, that brings me to the second point, the strong move higher. That's a very strong move. And that strong move took back the entire previous strong move for the bears, right? Remember, anytime we see a strong move in one direction, Now, given we've seen some pretty, herky-jerky back and forth movement, that's kind of how oil is behaving right now. But, you still have to give it the benefit of the doubt, right? When I see a real strong move like that, I have to give it the benefit of the doubt that I want to retest that high, right? When I see a strong move down like this, that's exactly where the one try, the two try, and the failure comes in, right? That's exactly where it comes into play. So we got to think this big, strong run higher here, all that momentum, they're going to want to retest the high. They may or may not because there's a range below us, but we have to assume they will. Okay. Next thing, this is a really, really big clue. We haven't tested the triangle or the pendulum yet. Okay. I just mentioned this triangle. So if I draw that triangle, forget for a moment, you don't know what happens here. Okay. Think about for a moment, you only know this right here, right? That's all you know. Okay, that's how you draw those trend lines. At the beginning of the range, you pop it right on up, right? Pop it right on down. There's your triangle. So they come down and they get a great, again, two-try signal off of that low. Now, where should this market want to go? It should want to go back to the other side of that triangle, and it has not yet. Another very important clue is the pendulum swing. Okay, you'll notice that markets love to make symmetrical moves. So the amount that we go, for example, below the range, right, is oftentimes equal or roughly about how much we go above it, right? So markets love to rotate back and forth. If I have a big move down and the market kind of rotates back higher here, it's easy to think the buyers have one thing on their mind to take out that 120.99, 121 area, that pendulum swing. You can see now, right? You can see, and then of course, the range magnet is below us. It's not just this range magnet either. This is being very generous. It's also this range magnet. It's this range. Basically it's one big trading range, right? We're one big range, just like the S&P and the Nasdaq, and we're rotating back and forth as we go. So very, very important here. We're aware of the most important clues are the strength of this bullish move. The simple fact that we have enough space to make another leg higher, plenty of space overhead. But be very careful we do make that move higher because that's where we assume sellers are going to be coming in looking for that short. All right? So how do we trade this thing right now? Well, what if we go lower? If we go lower, look for one of these, what do we call them again? Crown reversals. As we pull back, see what happens here? Buyers try once, buyers try twice. There's that trap I was talking about. Right? Again, draw a trend line down. That's the short right there. That is the short. Okay, that's a great setup. And again, this is the same setup that I talked about earlier on in this video on the Nasdaq and the S&P. Okay, so think about that setup right here. Okay, so as we pull back, you can see the buyers have already tried once already. Right? So now when you go lower, there's that trap high. That's a great one. Right? That's a great one. Love that. Again, we have to be careful with this because, again, it's a strong move going higher. Okay? Now, what if they pop and grind, right? What if we roll lower, start to grind down? Again, pop and grind channel, mark that low, mark that high. Think about where you have some prior swings and try to get above those prior swings. That'll put you above the moving average. You can grab that. You can grab that trap. You can grab that failure, and of course we can hit it back down, not just into that trading range. Remember, the amount we go above the range is the amount we go below the range. That'll help you get an idea of where you want that next target to be. Obviously the bears want to take out these big lows, but very rarely do we see straight lines all the way to those levels, right? So take some profit strategically at those areas, right? Use the pendulum swing and dial in those exit targets. One also thing you want to be aware of is, let's say it pulls back, holds that pullback, and then jumps and runs lower. You've really got to be careful down here on that pullback, right? Even though it's a very strong move like that, these get ugly. Right? These get ugly. We do see, strong moves that just fail because, again, it's one big trading range. So just be aware of that. If it really dumps, be careful with that first pullback if it happens right after we've taken out some of these lows. If I can get something like a 1, 2, 3 going lower like this, that's a very big difference, right? I can definitely take that short now because that momentum is rolled over and we haven't taken out that low. Does that make sense, right? So I want to get in before I get to the other side of that trading range. Okay, what if we go higher here? If we go higher right now, it would make perfect sense to retest that high. Mission accomplished, right? Mission accomplished. Now they've retested. And then from there, this is that classic 1, 2, trapping the buyers. Again, why twice? Because it's a bullish momentum at this point. We can then use those stops as fuel. We can drill down, find that new channel, and we can sell into it as it pulls back. That's that 2-try failure pattern I mentioned earlier. And then again, into that could be a trap, a failure, or a pullback combo off of that high. Okay, one thing you want to keep in mind too is, again, if we do go higher. Now, if we go higher, if we push higher here, you have to remember we're right at the major top here, and we have quite a bit more resistance up overhead. 121.35 is an easy one, and then we got wide open space up there to 124.15. So what you really have to get right now is we really have to see what I would want here on oil is I would want to see a pop up. I would want to see the buyers come in and hold that pullback and really jump. Really get me a good amount of momentum jumping off of that moving average, just as we talked about on the Emini and the Nasdaq. Because of all that resistance up there, we have to see proof that buyers want more. And guys, that could easily happen here. Again, oil is very much headline driven right now. So if we do see that 1, 2, 3 breakout, you mark off that high, you mark off that low, and you grab that first test, right? You grab that first test with any of the entry setups that I teach in that free trading course. And then again, not to repeat myself too much, but a double top at that high now, 1, 2, back down we go. This could easily happen. Strong pop up, pull back to retest, and then dumping it back down into that big trading range. That would really be a great trade. Also too, that kind of pop and grind, pop and grind, pop up, grind higher there. That would mean we probably have some sort of news event that's happened. If it pops and grinds like that, draw that channel, find that channel, drill down, and grab those swings, those failures, traps, pullbacks, whichever entry that we get. And then number 2, anytime we see a breakout, the breakout leg is the measuring leg. All right, we haven't talked a lot about that just yet, but keep in mind, and this goes for any of these breakout patterns tonight on any of these markets, the breakout leg is equal to, is the measuring leg. Okay, don't worry about the size of the grinder, right? Worry about the breakout leg, and then that will tell you kind of where that next objective is going to be from there. We're probably not going to go all the way from 120 to 120. Well, we could. We could. It's almost a $5 move. It's possible, but again, they've really got to get up. They got to hold that and really push. What I would love to see is get up around these highs, get some of those 2-try failures, and dump this thing right back down into that trading range. Or maybe we see it pop up and V-top, right? Pop up, V-top into a grinder. That. Love that, right? Mark that low, mark that high. That's great too. Any of these reversal patterns, again, pretty much what I'm talking about here on the oil can universally be applied to any of these. So if they do see that kind of pop up into resistance and then turn back around and start grinding down again, yeah, you know what that is. It's a pop and grind channel. Find that channel high and don't miss that short off the high. All right, guys. So now we get a pretty good idea of what to do as we go higher here. What about if we end up all the way back down at these lows here? Well, we mentioned earlier that as we go lower, it's kind of the same idea. Now, keep in mind, all that will be very bearish at that point. So this is exactly where those 1, those 2, those failures, and of course, back up, find that new channel, and grab that first pullback. One thing about these reversals, just watch the trend lines coming down. Right. So, for example, if we end up, rolling lower here, right, there may be a trend line coming down here. And so you may have to go 1, to and use that trend line to your advantage. Just going to keep your eyes on those trend lines as we go. They can be a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes, trying to get that long, right, going back up in the opposite direction, right? So again, it's basically one big trading range. We're trading the edges of these ranges, using those two try failures, grabbing those channels and trading that rotation. And boy, oh boy, I'm excited for tomorrow. Remember, we got oil report at 10:30 Eastern time tomorrow. And we're coming right back to our trade room tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I would love to have you there trading right along with us. If you're new to trading, or even if you're an experienced trader that hasn't quite been able to put the pieces together in the right sequence yet, if you're looking for a great place to learn and trade along, break those mental mistakes, break those bad habits, right? Get some consistency in your trading again. You're going to love our trade room. If you put a little bit of effort in with me and ask questions, need help, you'll do really well with us as a new student. Guys, I'll put all of the membership links. I'll put all the free course links in the description of the YouTube video. I'll also put some buttons for you on the website right below me here tonight on the trading blog. Don't be afraid to call the office. You can always call the office. I'll be here to help out with questions about any topics that you might need help with, whether it be joining as a new student, or whether it be, which broker and charts work best right now for today's market. So don't be shy about calling the office. We also have live support on the website, and you can use the comment section as well. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap things up here for now. Hope you enjoyed the video tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in and sticking around all the way to the end. Now get some rest. Hump day coming tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow morning in the trade room. If not, come back and see me tomorrow night, and we'll put the plan back together and get ready for Thirsty Thursday. But that's it for now, guys, though. Be well out there. Be nice to each other, and be here next time, will you? Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.